can hunting principles apply to success and faith? That's the topic we're going to be addressing today on Flourish-Meant. I'm your host, Tina Yeager. This episode of Flourish-Meant was recorded at the very busy National Religious Broadcasters Convention in Nashville, so you may hear some background noise. But I had the tremendous pleasure of interviewing twin brothers, Chad and James Hampton. They are the hosts of this incredible television show called Twin Factor TV, and it's been described as an adventure story, a reality TV show that's like Duck Dynasty mixed with Swamp People. But they have a really great ministry where they're applying hunting to something even bigger. Those principles that they learn in hunting to our faith, to our success. I can't wait to share the surprising insights that they brought about faith and success from their experiences in hunting. It's about so much more. Chad and James, welcome to Flourish-Meant. I'm delighted to have you on the show today. I'd like to get into some more practical tips that people can apply using the principles that you're teaching in your show. So you talked about how you're connecting with God to find purpose. Now, at first, people might think about hunting as being only about killing, but you said it was about seeking and or become something nourishing. So talk about some of those practical takeaways that you want people to get from your show.
From the show, first of all, that's a good question about hunting for nourishment. One of the things I do want to say, and we say this often, the harvesting of the animal is not a part that we enjoy. The management of what God has created, because He created it for us for nourishment, and for also we use it as a tool to provide for people. Our ministry has been partnered with organizations like Hunters for the Hungry, where these places pay for the processing of animals that you harvest, and then they give it to the meat to people that need it. So we use what we harvest to provide for people. The harvesting of the animal is not the part we enjoy, but the animals need to be managed. It needs to be managed because it gets overpopulated and things like that. So I do want to mention that because people say, "How do you kill animals?" Well, it's not fun, but they do need to be managed. But as far as more takeaways, like the principles that we have from our book, I'll share one, James, and then share another one. We have a chapter in our book called "Battling the Elements," and what we say, we use a story because James and I went hunting one day. And we were sitting like 200 yards from each other. We could see each other from our tree stands. And that day it was very windy, and it was in Michigan. It's really cold. It can be really windy. And so it was that day, and to the point where it gets kind of scary. We were in harnesses, so it was the trees were whipping, and I looked over and I seen James get out of his tree stand because it got so windy. And I watched him walk up to the truck, and it was probably 5 minutes later. I looked over at his stand, and there was a big buck that walked underneath the stand. And so when we got done, I went to the truck and I said, "James, if you'd have waited 5 minutes, you could have had a harvest." There was a buck that walked right underneath the stand. And we take that principle that you have to battle elements to be successful in your hunt out in the field. It's the same way in our life, in our hunt for God. When we're hunting God, there's going to be elements like there is in Michigan. It gets cold and windy and rainy, all those things that take your emotions in all different ways to the point where you got out of the stand. It's the same way in life. There's trials, there's elements that try to take our emotions and have us not be focused on God and what He has for us. And they can be very big, difficult trials that make you want to jump out of your stand and not hunt God anymore. And what we always tell each other, we always remind each other of the things we speak about in our book, because they're great reminders to us also. We'll talk about a trial and we'll say, "Don't get out of your stand. Don't get out of your stand, because you wait 5 more minutes, you could get a harvest." It could be keep hunting, don't get out of your stand. There's a blessing right there, or a breakthrough, or whatever God has planned for you when you stick in there, strap in your harvest, and just wait just a little bit longer. And so those are the type of principles that we preach, not just about purpose. That's where you start with purpose, but then there's those secrets that as you live out your purpose that will help you and to be successful as you keep hunting God and His plan for your life.
Yeah, we also have another chapter in our book. It's called Pulling in Your Time. And I always share a story about how in Michigan, I hunted this big buck that we had on our property. I hunted this buck for 87 hours. in 26 days because I wanted to harvest this buck, and I knew that the more time I spent hunting this buck at the tree stand, the better chance I would have of harvesting. And so I hunted him a lot for many hours, and I ended up harvesting that deer after 87 hours of hunting this deer. And so on the spiritual side of that, we always share with people, put your time in your relationship with God. And we always, if you look in the Gospels, Jesus is a perfect example of that. Jesus, many times, woke up in the morning and went out to a mountainside and prayed. And even a couple times, it says he prayed all night long to God. He put in his time of praying to God. We always say praying and reading the Bible and putting your time is important to a harvest in relationship with God.
And the waiting piece is another thing that is true in hunting and true in life as well.
Yes, you have to be patient. We try to challenge each other too. We laugh about this one a lot because James mentioned he spent 87 hours hunting this animal. And us hunters, if it's the right time of the year, we call it the rut, where it's the best time of hunting during the year. We will take a week off of our schedule of work or our life, and we'll hunt that whole week. Are we willing to spend as much time seeking God as we are in the field? We're hunting something that is temporary. Are we willing to put that time into our hunt for God, His plan for our life, which is the most important hunt and the most significant thing that we could ever do with our life? We challenge ourselves with that often, and we feel guilty often because we're willing to put, prioritize time in other places, but not in our relationship with God.
Who are you hoping to reach with your ministry?
Well, our target audience is hunters first, obviously, partly because we know that a hunter, if they hunt, they know the concepts of hunting. And when we teach them the spiritual side and use the same principles, they'll automatically connect with them. That's some of the best feedback we get when we go out and speak and minister, is people will say, I understand what you're saying because I'm a hunter and I understand the hunting concepts. So that's our target audience, but it's really to everybody, and we're trying to reach outside of the hunting community because everybody is a hunter. This just happened recently where we spoke at an event, and there was a man there that had no interest in hunting, and he doesn't hunt. But he came up to us afterwards and he said, I just want to let you know I don't like hunting, I'm not interested in it, but because you applied that to my life and used hunting principles, I understood what you were saying when you said everybody's a hunter and seeking something. And I could learn from your principles of hunting even though I don't like it and I don't do it. And so our target audience is the hunting community hunters because they will immediately connect with it. But so will people that are hunters.
And it seems like a ministry and an outreach that can touch the hearts of men. And we do hear that the statistics show that men are often the least likely to attend and get involved in church communities.
Yes.
So can you talk about the opportunity that you have?
We obviously, because we're hunters, we minister more to men. The encouraging part that we're seeing over time is that more women are getting involved in hunting also. So we're very encouraged by that, and we take a focus on it because, like you said, the statistics do show that there's less men that are involved in church. Because of the nature of our events, there's people that will come to those that would never step foot in a church. They don't feel threatened by coming into a church service, but they'll come to a wild game dinner where they can eat good food and talk about hunting and then hear a message, and they're open to it. And we've had so many people come up to us after events and say, I would never go to a church, but I'll come to something like this. So we do put a focus on that. But also one thing we didn't mention at this point is our Hunting Truth Ministries is also, we minister to fatherless youth. And for example, one of the things that we've done with Hunting the Truth nationally is in 2015, the commanding sergeant major at Fort Benning in Georgia with the U.S. Army saw one of our episodes. And he called us and asked us to come down and help them and team up and create the first Gold Star Hut for the youth that lost their father in active duty. So we go down there and guide the kids and film it for an episode. And so that's the kind of things we do around the country, not only for men, but we've also learned, we're pastors and have been in ministry for 25 years as pastors and involved in church planting. And one of the things that we've learned is that the absence of a male father figure in someone's life will create a lot of issues in the development of that person, because we pray and say Father God, but we're learning what love is and who God is by what we're experiencing through our authority figures, especially a father. And if you don't have that in your life, it's going to stunt or pervert the development of knowing who God is and what love is. And so we know that is very important, and we try to be some type of a good male role model, father figure to the kids that we minister to. We try to keep in touch with, in relationship with people and families that we minister to.
So are you seeing some response to that indicates that this has been evangelistic outreach as well?
Yeah, so we do a couple of cool events in our ministry, evangelistic events. One of them is called Sunday Morning Campbell Church Services. We'll have pastors and ministry leaders contact us, and they'll set up a Sunday Morning Campbell Church Service. It's outdoor themed, and it's hunting themed, and they'll try to invite as many people as possible, and they'll wear camo, and they'll have us come in and speak an evangelistic message. And like Chad said, even in a church service on Sunday morning, if it's outdoor themed and people don't feel threatened, they'll come in and they'll think that they're going to be hearing about hunting, which they will, but then at the end we'll knock them with the gospel, and it's a great evangelistic event. And also we do something called hunters gatherings. So we have individuals across the country who are hunters. They call us up, and they'll want to partner with us, and they'll host an event at their house, at their church, in their woods, around the pond, whatever it is. And the goal is to get as many hunters and outdoorsmen in one area, and we'll have food, music, different things that will draw hunters in to come hear this message, and we'll shoot bows and do different things, and then at the end Chad and I will share an evangelistic message. It's the exact same way.
I think that this is a good example of how, whether you're a hunter or not, whatever you have in your hand, you use that as a tool to reach out and make disciples according to the Great Commission. And you guys are living that. So that's fantastic. Well, I want to get a little less serious. What's a favorite episode, a favorite story, a favorite scene that you have done?
Well, I can tell you the most favorite episode we've ever produced is we went hog hunting in Florida with bow hunting, where we stalk hogs in orange groves. It's really fun if you're a bow hunter. But in that episode, we also went kayaking with alligators on the Yeager River. We have a friend who guides kayaking trips down the Yeager River with the alligators, and so we did that, and that was a very interesting experience. It was a great experience to have. I don't know if I would do it all the time, but for TV, it was probably the most response we've gotten from people. The highest rated episode and most watched episode was that, just because of the adventure. And we kind of featured how scared I was during that episode, so it really made people laugh. But yeah, that was my favorite episode.
Yeah, I would have to say that's my favorite episode as well.
The alligators on the river.
Well, so I actually harvested a couple hogs on that episode.
Oh.
So that's one of the reasons why it was my favorite episode, because I got to harvest animals and he didn't. So no, it was a twin competition there. Yeah, and we had some pretty funny things happen in that episode. Yeah.
So how can people stay connected with you and your show and your ministry?
They can go to twinfactortv.com. That's where they can find most of the information about us. And the Twin Factor TV YouTube channel has all the episodes we've produced up to this point. There'll be more content. We're going into season 4, so there'll be more content coming up. But right now, they can go to twinfactortv.com and then go to the YouTube channel.
Wonderful. And I hope that all of you listening will go and look that up, and make sure you look for that episode in Florida, so that you can see what they did with the wild hogs and the alligators.
It's
so you could
Florida
be afraid
Falls.
from a distance.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for being on the show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
So much.